Yes, you know, they say a woman's place is in the home, and I suppose as long as she's in the home, she might as well be in the kitchen.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. So now you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key.
To every woman who gave birth, to every taxpayer and citizen of this nation, we have fought for everybody else's equal rights. It's our time to have wage equality once and for all, and equal rights for women in the United States of America.
Say run like a girl.
It means run fast as you can.
My name is Rebecca Shaw, and I'm a senior at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. I took Women's Studies this semester as a way to gain a better understanding on the topic and to broaden my perspective. And that's what this topic is very broad. We discuss the fight for equality around the globe, domestic abuse, education, gender and sexuality, and even religion and how it ties in with equality. In this video, I'm going to highlight a few of the topics that stood out the most to me personally. And at the end, I'm going to talk about women's studies and feminism and what they are. So let's get to it.
All along the Cambodian shore, these makeshift boathouses are home to thousands of undocumented Vietnamese people. They are poor, desperate, and extremely vulnerable to the traffickers who come here looking for little girls. This is where we found Q's mother. Like most who live here, she and her husband raise fish in a net under their floating house. When they couldn't make enough money selling fish, they took out a small loan with a high interest rate. It quickly grew.
Mình mượn lúc đó có chồng mình mượn đầu tiên 200 rồi lên 500, lên 1.000, lên riết gần 10.000 luôn, 9.000 mấy rồi đó. Chứ lời nó đẻ lời.
That's when a trafficker came calling.
Thì bà thấy mình có con gái người ta mới cho mượn.
She was paid just $500 for Q's virginity, not the $1,500 she was promised, and only a drop in the bucket towards a massive debt that she'll never be able to pay off.
Con cũng đau khổ lắm vậy chứ, con hỏi chú, con hỏi cổ, tiền nợ cỡ này lời nó lên hoài. Thì quay trở lại cho con lành lẽ là từ đầu cho nó không được. Thì nó không có được cho con vậy, kinh tiết cho con lợi thì nó không được, chứ biết sao giờ mình cũng biết là thương con như thôi. Bởi vì mình nói làm cái gì cũng được hết trơn á, mình bầu cấp lợi cho con. Mình biết là mình hối hận, mình biết là con mình làm cái đường đó là mình biết mình sai. Tại mình thiếu thốn nợ nần quá, mình mới dẫn con đi làm cái nghề đó thôi.
Regret and guilt, but that won't erase what her little girl went through.
Buồn mình cũng biết con là buồn vậy thôi. Ra đời đi chơi này kia cũng mắc cỡ với người ta mình cũng biết. Mà làm cha làm mẹ thì mình không có con đường nào lựa chọn hết trơn. Nói chung ra không có cái gì mà bằng tiền bạc nợ nần hết trơn. Không có cái gì mà lớn hơn cái đó. Mình thì mình suy nghĩ có kiếm tiền kiếm bạc trả nợ trả nần cho người ta hết chữ hết rủa rồi thôi.
Feminists recognize both the similarities and differences in women's statuses worldwide. Matters of personal survival take priority. What are considered feminist issues in the United States are not necessarily the most important concerns of women in other parts of the world. I read that in Chapter 1, page 13 of our text, Women's Voices, Feminist Visions. And I'm thankful I had the opportunity to read that early in the semester, because when feminist issues are discussed, they are often a list of issues for women in the United States. Those victories are not only bettering our lives, but hopefully paving the way for countries whose equal rights are just beginning. To me, that video not only highlights the overwhelming reality of sex trafficking, but shows women everywhere need more help, better jobs, better housing, and more opportunities.
Nowhere in the corridors of pale green and gray, nowhere in the suburbs in the cold light of day, there in the midst of it, so alive and alone, words support like bone, dreaming of Mercy Street, where you're inside out, dreaming of mercy.
This is my Hope and Justice training manual. Yesterday, I started training to become a volunteer, because as many organizations who help the families, friends, and victims of domestic abuse, they have a 24-hour hotline. As a volunteer, I'll answer the phone calls, and I'll listen to what they have to say, and if more help is needed, I'll pass it on to Hope and Justice. Chapter 10 in our book is called Resisting Violence Against Women. Page 503 states, violence, an assault on a person's control over her or his body and life can take many forms. Gendered violence implies the harm evolves from the imbalance in power between women and men. Although men can be victims of domestic abuse, the statistics are overwhelmingly women being abused by men. Page 504 goes on to state, 56 women are victimized in some way by an intimate partner every hour. Page 516 has ideas for activism, including interrupting jokes about violence against women, creating and distributing materials about the facts, or donating or volunteering at a local domestic violence shelter or organization. I was a victim of domestic abuse and was embarrassed about it, but reading about it helped me realize how large of an issue it is, and volunteering is my way of helping people that are going through it. 1.
All right. 2. Okay. 3. Was that 3? Was that 3? Wait, you got it! You got it! I got it! You got it! Oh my God! I got it! Oh my God! Woo! Oh my God!
Don't tell her, KJ. Let her look. Don't nobody react.
Name Janelle Latoya Carter. Application term, fall 2014. Admission type, regular. Application preference, not entered. Application status, decision made.
Oh my God.
Decision.
Dun.
I'm sorry, Janelle.
When I was growing up, my mother always talked to me about going to college, not pressuring me, but generally speaking, like it was an inevitable transition, which I think helped ingrain it in my brain as a belief system. College was always a natural step after high school. Lots of men and women take this step, and in recent years, more women than men are earning their bachelor's degree. An article in our text talks about this, called Too Many Women in College, poses a question. Talks about people not liking that. Laura Bush even launched a campaign that was focused around boys becoming involved in gangs and not going to college, even though in 1970 there was about 57% of graduates were male and nobody had a problem with it then. As the text states, few were worried. So how does women's studies tie in with college? Well, up until the 1960s, 1970s, a lot of the higher education curriculum was based around men. History was history about men. Literature was literature written by men. And students and professors wanted change. So some courses evolved, and then eventually in 1970, a women's studies program started. And today, there are over 900 programs. So what is women's studies? Is women's studies all about women? Well, yes, there is women involved, but it also talks about feminism and issues of gender, and issues that impact both men and women. And women's studies and feminism do go hand in hand, but feminism is widely misunderstood. Not all feminists hate men. Not all feminists are lesbians. Not all feminists refuse to wear a bra. And not all women refuse to cook, to rebel against anything stereotypical. Occasionally, these traits or personalities may coincide with being a feminist, but not all feminists believe this way or are this way. After this class, I would describe being a feminist means you support men, means you support women, everyone having equal rights regardless of how they identify, who they love, and what they believe. Everyone deserves to be safe, happy, and healthy. Everyone should get to be who and what they want. And as a feminist, you want that equality.
Can you tell which of these children does not deserve to be treated with dignity? We can't either. Human right number one. We are all born free and equal.